The Mariposa family embarked on an exciting hiking adventure in Northern California. However, the journey took an unfortunate turn as they mysteriously disappeared during their trip. Ellen Chung and Johnathan Gerrish were a delightful and married couple who shared a love for hiking. They often ventured into the great outdoors with their 8-year-old dog Oshki, their lively Aussie Akita mix. Almost like clockwork, they set out on hikes almost every weekend. Adding to their happiness, in August 2020, they welcomed a beautiful daughter into their lives, named Aurelia Miju. Johnathan Gerrish was a software engineer in the Silicon Valley, a job that largely kept him working from the comfort of his home due to the pandemic's impact. This decision was influenced by their desire to provide their daughter with a life outside the bustling city. So they made the choice to leave San Francisco behind and settle in the charming town of Mariposa, California. On a lovely Saturday evening, August 14, 2021, Johnathan used his trusty app to plan the route for their upcoming Heights Cove hike. With just waypoints and directions, he set the path, not worrying about calculating exact distances or elevation gains. This was a usual routine for Johnathan, who often used various apps to plan his hiking adventures. The following day, which was a bright Sunday, August 15, 2021, Ellen, Johnathan, their adorable 1-year-old daughter Miju, and their faithful dog Oshki set off for a hike in the remote beauty of the Sierra National Forest. This forest is nestled in the southern Sierra Nevada mountains and covers an expansive 1.3 million acres. Stretching primarily across Fresno County, it also extends its reach into Madera and Mariposa counties. The Sierra National Forest consists of an exciting combination of outdoor recreation, beautiful scenery, and numerous natural springs. The Sierra National Forest's enchanting blend of outdoor fun and scenic beauty makes it a sought-after spot for nature lovers and outdoor enthusiasts alike. Bright and early on Sunday morning, August 15th, around 7:45 a.m., an observant person caught sight of the family's cool gray Ford F-150 Raptor cruising down Heights Cove Road. They pulled up to the trailhead, ready for their adventure. The weather was pleasant at 74 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit, and their starting point was at about 3,880 feet above sea level. They kicked off their day with a 2.2-mile hike along the Heights Cove Road Trail, heading toward the U.S. Forest Service Trail 20E01.4. As they crossed this point, the elevation lowered to about 1,930 feet, and the temperature climbed between 92 to 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Their journey continued along the 20E01.4, a picturesque 1.9-mile path tracing the South Fork of the Merced River, until it met the Savage Lundy Trail. At this junction, they found themselves at approximately 1,800 feet elevation. At this stage, the temperature had risen to about 99 to 103 degrees Fahrenheit. They braved the steep slopes of the Savage Lundy Trail from here onwards, facing constant exposure to the sun's rays as the trail headed southeast. By now, the temperature had surged to a scorching 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Researchers noted that the ground temperatures were probably even higher due to the lack of tree cover caused by the Ferguson fire in 2018. Despite the challenging conditions, the family trekked about 2 miles on the Savage Lundy Trail. The rising temperatures and the family's trail location posed a real test for them. In the evening, the family took a moment to capture a special video for their babysitter and nanny, showcasing little Miju's newfound walking skills. The next day, Monday, August 16th, around 11 a.m., the babysitter arrived at the family's home for her regular shift, only to discover an empty house. Filled with concern, she reached out to family and friends, hoping for news. It was odd, as neither Johnathan nor Ellen had shown up for work. As the hours went by, she continued her calls and search efforts. But sadly, after unsuccessful attempts, she had no choice but to contact the authorities. The family was officially reported missing at 11 p.m. that day. Around 12 hours after the babysitter discovered the empty house, the deputies swung into action to start their investigation. Then, on the early morning of Tuesday, August 17, 2021, at around 1:50 a.m., a sheriff's deputy found their gray car parked at the trailhead, the family's ride to adventure. Without wasting time, the Mariposa County Sheriff's deputy called for the assistance of search and rescue teams. By 4 a.m., these dedicated teams were already on the scene, tracking human and animal footprints as they combed through the Heights Cove Road Trail. As the sun gradually brightened the sky, more search teams joined the effort on the Savage Lundy Trail at around 8:40 a.m., and not wanting to leave any stone unturned, they also got in touch with the California Highway Patrol, requesting their trusty H-40 helicopter to help with the search. On that Tuesday morning, around 9:30 a.m., the heart-wrenching discovery was made: the lifeless bodies of Johnathan, Ellen, Miju, and Oshki. They were found in a remote corner, the Devil's Gulch area, along the south fork of the Merced River, about 1.6 miles from their parked car. Reports suggest that the only trace of refreshment found at the scene was an empty 85-ounce water bottle. Curiously, there were no other containers for water or any water filtration systems in sight. With the family deep in a remote location, their phones couldn't get a signal. Upon close examination, there were no apparent signs of violence, trauma, or falls on the bodies. Intriguingly, they were found on the trail itself, not tucked away in a tent. According to Sheriff's Deputy Christy Mitchell, we're processing the scene right now. There's no clear indication of cause of death. To ensure the safety of the search teams and employees, and to keep the location of the incident intact as much as possible, investigators requested a helicopter flight. The site was treated as a hazmat scene. Coming across a scene where everyone involved, including the family dog that is deceased, that is not a typical thing that we have ever seen or other agencies have seen. This is why we're treating it as a hazmat situation. We just don't know, said Christy Mitchell. The Mariposa County Sheriff's Office was inundated with tips, suggestions, and investigative requests, which they diligently reviewed. As the days went on, they took precautionary measures, closing down the Merced River Recreation Site, its roads and trails in the Sierra National Forest, starting from Sunday, August 29, 2021. The investigation into this tragic event was launched, causing the forest to remain off-limits to the public until at least the end of September. Those involved in search and rescue knew that this hiking trail was recognized as a risky area, heightening the urgency of their efforts. Initially, investigators held concerns that the family might have accidentally breathed in toxic fumes, perhaps from an abandoned mine nearby. However, it turned out that the nearest mine was more than 2 miles away. To explore this further, California State Highway Patrol teams and an H-40 helicopter meticulously combed the area, but they found no evidence to suggest that the family had come into contact with or entered the mine. There were also reports of toxic algae in the vicinity, which prompted investigators to consider whether these algae blooms or other hazards could have played a role in the family's tragic fate. To get to the bottom of this, several water tests were carried out. These tests involved the cooperation of 6 different laboratories, and the results from water samples collected along the south fork of the Merced River revealed the presence of a substance called anatoxin A. This compound belongs to a group known as cyanotoxins and is produced by certain species of cyanobacteria. These cyanobacteria can flourish in bodies of water, especially during warm weather conditions, creating toxins that pose risks to both humans and animals. However, despite the presence of this toxic substance, there was no evidence to suggest that Johnathan, Ellen, or Miju had consumed this tainted water. The exact causes of their passing still remain uncertain, leaving some questions unanswered. Leek Penn, Assistant Recreation Officer at the Bass Lake Ranger District, which oversees this part of the Sierra National Forest, noted the need for caution due to these findings. Initially, the absence of physical injuries or signs of trauma on the family and their dog led the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office to rule out exposure to chemicals or the use of firearms or other deadly weapons as the cause of death. Speaking about this, Christy Mitchell, Mariposa County Sheriff's spokeswoman, said, "Initially, yes. When we came across the family with no apparent cause of death, there's no smoking gun, there's no suicide note, there's nothing like that. We have to consider all options. Now that we're 5 days in, no, we're no longer considering homicide as a cause of death." Important developments continued to unfold in this challenging case, with January 22, 2021, standing out as a significant date in the timeline. The Mariposa County Sheriff's Office took the initiative to hold a press conference to share the findings about the Gerrish family's passing. The official cause of their deaths was officially established on Friday, October 15th. The pathologist compiled the report after carefully studying the autopsy results, a wealth of toxicology data, and a thorough examination. The conclusion drawn from all this information revealed that Johnathan Gerrish, Ellen Chung, and their little one, Aurelia Miju Chung Gerrish, had succumbed to hyperthermia and likely dehydration. While their cause of death was clear, the same couldn't be said for their loyal dog, Oshki, whose passing still remains a bit of a mystery. Based on the evidence at the scene and the state of Oshki's remains, the investigators speculated that the dog might have been struggling with the effects of excessive heat. Oshki, an 8-year-old Aussie Akita mix, held a special place in their family. In the remote area where they were, phone coverage was non-existent, adding an extra layer of difficulty to the situation. The FBI tried to access Johnathan's phone, which was found in his pocket. Then, on February 17, 2022, the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office shared a message on Facebook that brought some important progress to light. After putting in a good few months working closely with the FBI's computer phone forensics team, they managed to extract the details from Johnathan Gerrish's phone. This information allowed them to piece together the route and timeline using the GPS data stored in the phone. The insights gathered from the phone's data reinforced the earlier findings pointing to the role of heat in the tragic incident. Adding to that, they also stumbled upon several photos taken during the family's hike. The very first snapshot was captured at 7:44 a.m., just a few steps from the start of the trail. Another photo followed 15 minutes later, capturing the beginning of their journey. At 9:05 a.m., the family captured a snapshot of the lovely Merced River, capturing a beautiful moment of their adventure. In the span of the next 40 minutes, between 9:35 and 10:16 a.m., they went on a mini photo spree, taking a total of 10 pictures showcasing the river's beauty. In the mix were couple shots and adorable family selfies portraying their joyous time together. The final photo on the phone was clicked at 12:25 p.m., a screenshot of their location on a hiking trail app called All Trails. As the day unfolded, it became clear that Johnathan was making every possible effort to reach out for help. He desperately tried to send messages, yet poor phone coverage held these messages back from being delivered. In one text, he shared, "Can you help us on Savage Lundy Trail heading back to Heights Cove Trail? No water, overheating with baby." Their struggles were evident, even in their attempts to make calls, at 12:09 p.m., and then 4 more times, starting at 12:35 p.m. However, sadly, none of these calls managed to connect. Interestingly, despite their dire situation, they didn't dial 911. These call attempts were made close to the spot where their bodies were eventually discovered. In the midst of this unfolding tragedy, the cell phone data results were the critical missing piece that both the family and investigators were anxiously awaiting. Sheriff Jeremy Breeze of the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office said in a statement, "The extracted information confirms our initial findings." Then, on October 21, 2021, the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office shared the final press release on their Facebook page, marking an important step in the journey of understanding this heartbreaking event. In addition, the family of Johnathan and Ellen also issued a statement. The loss of a close relative is a pain almost beyond words, when that loss is multiplied by 4. And one of that 4 is a baby of just 1 year old. The pain is indescribable when that pain is then further impacted by the lack of knowledge and certainty as to the reasons for their deaths. Then the question of why, of where, of when, and of how fill your mind all of the days and all of the nights. They thanked everyone for their dedication and commitment, and continued, "Some questions have been answered, and we will use the information as a way of helping us come to terms with the situation. However, the question why can never be answered, and will remain with us. Our hearts will never forget the beautiful lives of Johnathan, Ellen, Miju, and of course Oshki. They will remain with us wherever we go and whatever we do. In the future, when we sit beneath the trees listening to the wind soughing through the branches, we will hear them and we will remember." While we now know the cause of their passing, a multitude of questions still linger about their mysterious disappearance during that fateful hike. Their heart-wrenching loss has sparked conversations about being well prepared, staying aware, and understanding the potential dangers of venturing out in challenging weather conditions. Through this tragedy, the importance of having enough water, especially in remote places, has been underscored. Their vanishing, and the subsequent events that led to their passing remain a puzzle that both investigators and their family are determined to piece together. Even though we acknowledge the extreme heat and lack of water played a part, many details surrounding the timeline of events that brought them to this heart-wrenching end remain shrouded in uncertainty.